Hi, field fans and talking enjoyers. Welcome to the UK Festival podcast. Today, we're talking to Callum Weston and Dan Wide, two of the brilliant pirate musicians behind Bristol-based folk punk collective Nasty Fishmonger. Now, recently, they put on their first all-day music event, the Commoners Fair, which I reviewed for the festivals. I thought the Commoners Fair was brilliant, but some of my listeners might not have read the review. Could either of you quickly describe what you were going for with the festival?
What are we going for? Well, I suppose our big dream is we'd like to hold a field festival, but it's been
Mm,
become a bit ambitious for your first event to jump straight to a full weekend camping festival. So I guess what we were trying to do with it was try and capture as much of the kind of like crusty like camping festival like energy and atmosphere and try and bring that inside for just a 1 day thing and try and like at the kind of the start of the end of the summer, what's going to be at the beginning of October, as people are kind of like moving away from festival season and those festival
mm.
blues are setting in, try and recapture some of the magic for one last hurrah before we go into the bad months, you know.
I think as well that was our ambition once we got there, and we ended up in the position because what we really wanted to do was just put a gig on in Bristol. We
Mm.
wanted to put a big Nasty Fishmonger gig on, and basically everywhere said no or wouldn't give us a good day to do it. Bar Moor,
Mm.
Moor Beer, who turned out to be pretty affordable and pretty accommodating, which meant we had a lot more budget left over and went, oh, we could just do a gig. Or we could do two stages, make it a whole little day thing, and make a lot more work for ourselves. And look what we
Well,
chose.
it was absolutely brilliant. You chose the right choice. Was it actually chaos behind the scenes, or like was it somewhat successful from your point of view?
Completely smooth sailing and like tightly organized. Uh, I mean, I say that flippantly, but we naturally communicate quite well and
Hmm.
kind of yeah have a good handle on things. Like as you know, as like gigging musicians, we have a good idea of like what we want to see out of an event. We know what frustrates us about other events. So basically, setting up to try and like hit all of that and make sure that like if there's any like info that we'd like to have in advance, like that's been put out and everyone has it, and that we've like tried like we've looped in all like parties in as much as possible so that every like as much like preparation is done ahead of time as possible. And yeah, I don't know. I think we were like pretty. I mean, we're naturally also quite stressy people anyway. So by the time the day came around, of course, like we were like pretty tense. But
I was
no,
going to say, I'm
I think we're
pretty sure
pretty
at
on
some
top of
point
things.
in the week leading up to it, Cam told me that I was driving myself mad by worrying about it too much.
I mean, yeah, that is true.
But I think I'm probably a bit more high strung
Hmm.
of the pair, and unless I know exactly what's going to happen, I'll be a bit agitated. But I think we're on similar wavelengths. So during like planning it and running, there wasn't really much chaos or any sort of stress there. We were lucky enough that I think last year particularly every single band we asked said yes at like almost
Mm,
initial asking. So that was pretty helpful. There wasn't like tons and tons of negotiation or like communication around that. And again, Moore was super accommodating to everything we wanted to do, which kind of opened us up to being a little more creative around
Mm.
some aspects of the event. And I think the day itself, apart from a slight glitch where like the sound wasn't working when we first arrived, everything was pretty fine. But obviously, the sound's a pretty important part of the whole setup.
Yeah, it's a small venue, but I don't think you can do it acoustic.
We would have tried, but I don't think it would have been quite the same effect.
No, I mean your new album or your album is in parts quite heavy.
I think that's pretty fair to say. I think that our newer stuff, like the stuff we're recording now, is probably even heavier than that. But
Oh,
we're
you're
all
going
like,
even more into the rock band, haven't you?
we're a rock band with a folk problem. We're all disgustingly like metalheads at heart, even if none of us would admit it now.
Hmm.
We can't quite shake it.
No, it's a pathway. So, how did you find Moor Beer Co? Like, were they advertising, or do you know someone or something?
we've just been to events there. It's like a reasonably local spot for us, and there's like we've seen friends of ours playing there. We've seen like Fish the Twitch has played there before, and I've heard like Semantics and Nick Parker have played there, and it's just a really good space because it feels a bit It's like it just feels very DIY because you are just kind of like there all in amongst all of like the brewing equipment and stuff,
Yeah,
and it
all the
just has
pipes.
like it kind of feels like you shouldn't be in there, right? It kind of feels like
Mm.
it's definitely the last place that there should be like a big group of people in a band. And yeah, I guess we just like the atmosphere of it, and yeah, just thought it worked.
Yeah, I think it was it's one of the newer Bristol venues, maybe of the last like year, 2 years. Sort of, I think definitely since like post lockdown, they've started to run gigs there, and you know, it's one of the more affordable gig spaces in Bristol. If you want to put something on a little more DIY, a little more low to the ground,
Mm.
cost wise, and particularly when like the Crofters closed, it's sort of kind of filling that niche of affordable
Mm.
venues for allowing budding promoters or bands to put their own thing on without necessarily having to have essentially a huge track record of other successful events, because that's Bristol's quite a big competitive music city,
Mm.
and there's a lot of people want dates at some of the popular venues. So this is sort of like, so it's a really nice sort of accommodating venue for people that are a bit maybe newer or like catering maybe to a slightly niche audience as well.
Yeah. One thing that seems quite interesting about it is, well, it inherently kind of subsidizes itself because it's still a brewery.
Yeah.
So you don't have to deal with the, oh God, we're running a music venue and trying to make a profit on that. It's just a side thing for the space.
Yeah, completely. And
Yeah,
it's a great
true.
use of the
Yeah,
space as well. Like
Mm,
it's
mm.
there. Like it would be sat there not being used anyway. So
Yeah.
for them, it's win-win. We can provide this space for people to come and put on events. And what they're going to do? Are they going to drink all the beer? So it's a savvy business idea, isn't it?
As an immersive theatre fan, I really loved that you managed to implement a little bit of a story to the Commoners Fair. How did that come about?
I'll let DM Dan take the lead on that.
I was going to let
Ah,
Callum go because I thought it was Callum's idea. I mean, I think we yeah, like I run a lot of Dungeons and Dragons games. We've been to Boomtown with the band. We enjoyed that sort of aspect of it. It makes an event more than just a gig, right? Again, Bristol's a great music city. There's a lot going on. There's like four good, well established like all day weekender events that happen in Bristol, and we sort of, I think, part of like creating the event we would like to go to.
hmm.
But also like providing something that's a little more unique and a little more of like a unique selling point to a degree. And I think I personally think adding that sort of that story, the small sort of games all the way through it, created a bit more of a cordial, familiar sort of atmosphere to the whole thing. It wasn't people just sort of stood there, hands in pockets, watching some bands play. There was sort of like this undercurrent that sort of connected everyone and like gave everyone like a mild like common cause for getting involved and being involved,
Yeah,
which I thought was really really nice.
it was really good as an excuse to chat to people who I probably wouldn't have talked to otherwise.
Yeah, for sure.
I think as
That,
a pair and as a band of like neuro spicy people, have like being given that kind of excuse or like reason to talk to people. Like, I think I definitely found like Boomtown as one of the kind of like one of the big bodies of the story. I think is that yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm generally quite like chatty at festivals anyway because I suppose they're already kind of like spaces that do just kind of
yeah,
everyone's just feeling like a little bit more social and there's something about the nature of like the space that it's kind of so removed from like regular reality, and because you are just kind of like in there for that time period, and like this becomes like the whole world now, like
mm,
these four fields, or like I suppose like these four walls, that becomes like your reality because you're there for like a much longer period than just a gig. It does kind of give you, like Dan was saying, an easier focal point for conversation. But yeah, there's definitely something about the story thing because I think it also invites you to like not necessarily be yourself. You're invited to kind of like
mm.
talk to people through a bit of a performance and through a bit of a like an extra character, but like an extra mask to hide behind, I suppose, in like
Yeah.
talking to people to make
No,
it a little bit less awkward. But yeah.
I definitely found that when I went to Boomtown this year, because I went on my own and I ended up talking,
Oh wow.
doing just story, basically. I've got a film of it coming out in the next few days, probably before this.
Hmm.
So, you, you know, people who are watching this, go watch the Boomtown film afterwards. But yeah, no, I went in character as such. Like, sort of it was me, but sort of just a bit of an extra mask. And it,
Hmm.
it made things really easy throughout the day, except when I was wearing too good a costume and the general public thought I was content.
And I like that, like not necessarily because my costume was so good, but because like it just gets to the point that you don't know what's real and what's not. And if you can start like if there's people who maybe haven't quite put as much effort as you have into finding passwords and secrets and stuff, you can just start making things up and sending people on like on the whole quests because they'll just like if you say with enough confidence, yeah, no, I've gone and found this thing, or oh, did you learn this secret handshake? It's actually this, like
I
maybe I
mean,
don't know.
I was enjoying that right up till the fact someone managed to complete my completely random quest at assignment and I had to find quest rewards and I was running out of Boomtown money.
Oh, we sort of saw a little bit of that kind of like shenanigans with our storyline in the so our central game had there were 3 code words to find. And by the end of the event, people have found 7.
Where did the
People
others
realized
come
what the
from?
connector was and just went, yeah, we're just going to spam these connections now.
So, whose idea was the human hooker duck then?
I think that was mine. I'm not really sure. Like
It was
things that
either you or
happen.
Lizzie.
Yeah, in my head, I think it's mine. It's the sort of idea I would go, like, this is a great idea. Liz, go do. You know, I have ideas. I let other people fulfill them.
Can I steal it?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thanks.
I mean,
Crack
Hook
on.
Duck did exist before the fair, believe it or not. It's actually a classic carnival game that goes back hundreds of years.
It, it was very funny. However, I did sort of have to walk away and go, oh, someone is going to lose an eye, and
But
it
that's why
was
you
marked
provided
that
the
no one
goggles.
did. Like, yeah, but half like some people struggle to put swimming goggles on before they've had a couple of beers. Some of these people like could not like figure out how to put goggles on over their heads.
Yeah.
It was quite funny. Like, I will name no names.
So, am I right in the idea? Well, you're doing a repeat of the Commoners Fair. Is it's again in Moor Beer Co?
No,
No.
we're moving it to Lost Horizon for 2025. Um, we were kind of a bit taken aback by the response to the first year. We thought it'd be busy. We thought it would do well. We had an idea of kind of like the size of venue we thought we could fill, but I think we still didn't quite expect to completely sell out as far in advance as we did. And I guess we were kind of faced with so we could either do it at Moor Beer again, not exactly guaranteed because there are no guarantees in live music, but like I feel have a decent level of confidence that we would have a repeat sellout year, and then we've got 2 sold out years under our belt, and that would look
Mm.
quite good,
Mm.
kind of just for the longevity of the event because we would like this to become an established annual thing. But we thought we could take the opportunity of like kind of the voting confidence that clearly like there is people interested in this because also like we sold out the event itself, but then there were resales and there was still a waiting list for tickets afterwards. So it's like there's clearly more people that we can actually fit into this venue that are interested in coming. So we thought, well, why not take the opportunity to just kind of like step up to a bigger space, also a space that I like Moor Beer worked really well for the amount of people that we had. But I think any more, and I think starting to move between the 2 stages would become a bit. I mean, it was already like I think quite busy, and like I think just about at the level of tolerability before it became kind of a just like like a barrier to enjoyment, I guess. Like
Yeah.
in terms
No,
of
the fact
being
you
able to
had
move around.
the fact you've got that big outside space there is really what made it work.
Yeah, and if the weather hadn't been as good, then we might have been a very different event because that's the courtyard at Moor where a lot of people spent a lot of the day being able with a view of both stages. So with Lost Horizon, there's to be more space for people to move around. There's actually going to be a physical barrier between the 2 stages because one stage is going to be inside the venue and one stage is outside in the covered space outside of the venue. I think that's going to make it like for an interesting difference in that you're not in the same room the whole day. You are going to have to kind of move around and stuff, and we've got a bit of the outside of the front of the venue to play with. I mean, we've got more space to play with kind of story elements. So if say when there's an act on the acoustic stage outside, there's going to be a whole unused space inside the venue where maybe more story shenanigans can happen, or a character can pull some punters aside for more of like a quiet chat about whatever story things are going to happen this
Yeah.
year. So I think and it also I think there's a lot more to play with kind of from a production standpoint. On the live music side of things, Lost Horizon is a dedicated live music
Yeah.
venue, so it has a bigger sound system and it has a more elaborate lighting rig and a big screen, which are all things that would be exciting to be able to play with. So yeah, just kind of growing the event and give ourselves kind of more creative options and I think we would I think still quite like to try and put on some other events with more. I think it'd be nice if under the banner of the fair, we could run some other kind of like more like one-off gigs, but that maybe have some elements of like our theatrics to it. That maybe like we might run some events that kind of seed some ideas of the story that we're wanting to tell with this year's event. But we'll see about that. That's
I wonder if there'll be
a
any
thing for
recurring
that.
cast and characters from last year.
Well, I mean, we only have so many friends, so
Three.
Oh,
We
there are
have
only
three
that
friends. We share them between the band members.
many. Well, yeah, no, I know most of them already.
Yeah, I think we're always between, at least between me and Callum, we are always like, again, with the whole way that we want to do a gig. Oh, but we could do this bigger thing. We always choose the bigger fish. If there's a bigger fish or a bigger opportunity, even if it may not necessarily always be logically, the sensible, like, calm step, we like to try and go bigger. And Lost Horizon is a noticeable capacity increase as well. So hopefully there'll be lots more people there enjoying themselves and having fun.
Mm. Are you going to be flyering and stuff?
yeah, eventually. So we're going to be dropping the rest of our lineup, maybe around March, April time. Keep your eye on the socials. Nothing firm on that yet. We've released half the lineup. We've got another half of the lineup we've been sat on for a second announcement. So yeah, we've got once again like really really lovely artwork by our good friend Lucy, of comic books fame. If you've read any of the Enola Holmes graphic novels, you'll have seen some of their artwork. Um, so yeah, like when you've got like as gorgeous a design as that, it's worth like blowing up onto big beautiful posters. But it's something we'll worry about later in the year, I think, because we're still like quite a few months away. And as we come kind of at the end of the festival summer, people might not necessarily be factoring our festival into their plans for the year just yet. Given that we like for last year's event, we didn't announce that we were doing it at all until June. We've gotten like the ball rolling much sooner now with this one. So I think we'll probably stagger getting around to doing kind of more of that like sort of on the street promotion. But
one of our very happy problems last
soon.
year was that we had like a load of flyers, but we just sold out before we really needed to use the flyers. So we just had them and was like, oh well, what are we gonna do with these now?
Listen, if anyone wants any as a memento, do get in touch because we can give them to you by the stack. Still got them.
I mean,
collect our recycling, please.
Use them as wallpaper.
That's true. Wrap your presents in them at Christmas, or I don't know, paper airplane competition.
Yeah, that could be quite fun actually.
Have
that part of the next Commoners Fair paper airplane fest competition with last year's flyers. So
I really want one. I'm adamant. I want there to be some creative thing you can do. We've not fully bottomed out ideas, but I saw an event somewhere, a puppet rave, where they just got like they were getting people like making sock puppets because there's the little craft station, and we could maybe do that by paper aeroplanes. Your aeroplane goes the furthest, you get a golden ticket. You can come to all future Commoners Fair events as long as you bring your aeroplane championship belt or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, at Boomtown this year they had what's it called? Spoon decoration. So in Old Town, you were all decorating a spoon.
Well, here we go. We need to do that.
Like wooden spoons or like metal spoons?
Wooden spoons, like little coffee stirrer spoons. Really, nothing fancy, but you could write on them. You could like, I mean, I made mine a cape out of Boomtown money. Like, no ways. Um, so would you ever consider putting on like an outside camping event, or are you still scared of that?
Not scared. Not scared. Not at
We
all. Not
just need
scared.
the
No.
capital.
Yeah,
No one wants
we
to come
haven't
give
got
us
the kind of
money
money that you
or
need
give us a field. We'll give
to
it a
put
go.
on just yet. But yeah, yeah, that's the end goal. Is that eventually it
Mm.
becomes a full camping weekend. I suppose at that point, because I think it'd be a shame to lose the Order and lose the Brits. So I think realistically, we'd probably end up running like two events in tandem, one in the summer and one in the winter, an
Mm.
outdoor and an indoor. Realistically, because I don't think we'd ever want to fully write off the indoor road there. It's also it's for the reason this is a lot more accessible. It's a lot easier to run
Yeah.
an accessible event when it's in a established brick and mortar building. Uh,
Mm. Yeah, no, going to an
but
outside camping
yeah, would love to
festival.
run a camping festival. It's kind of where. Pardon?
It's just
Oh,
way harder from an accessibility point of view.
yeah, but there's lots of things you can do to mitigate it, and I think yeah, given us being the kind of people that we are, and like
Yeah.
having the kind of uh, background, like we definitely
Mm.
we'd make it a big focus and try to be as good as any event of that
Yeah.
kind of scale and budget could be. But
Mm.
yeah, I think yeah, but we need to kind of I think like build up the identity of it first, get like a crowd of its own for the festival, if that makes sense. So it isn't necessarily just like the band's followers coming, but that like the festival has a following of its own. It would kind of need to become bigger than us, and um, yeah, I mean, if we can get to the point that we can consistently sell out Lost Horizon, that's enough people to make a camping festival viable.
Hmm. Yeah.
If we get that many ticket holders, so I guess yeah, a couple of years in Lost Horizon just to kind of like solidify it, and then
Okay, so not too far in the
yeah,
future then.
hopefully not. Yeah, it depends on yeah, if we can. Yeah, I think the bigger thing we building up the money to be able to have behind it
Yeah.
because yeah, at the minute we do not have hiring a
The,
field money
Mm.
yeah.
or hiring Portaloos money or
or
hiring
taking
electricity money.
the risk factor is the big one, because obviously the more you spend, the bigger you go. It becomes a lot harder to pull out without incurring significant financial impacts
Yeah.
to yourself or to the organization. So got
When I
a
was
reasonable level of ballast there if we do want to go a little cowboy.
Yeah, when I was talking to Silas from Maui Wowie, he said essentially he's betting a house every year now,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just that's a bit scary.
Yeah, well, like even with this, like we know we've got a budget, we have a minimum amount we need to make by a certain time,
Hmm.
or it maybe doesn't happen
Yeah.
because ultimately we want this to be a fun thing that we can do, that we can enjoy, we can play, we can be part of.
Hmm.
But none of us has tons and tons of money to be potentially risking on like 30 people turning up to Lost Horizons. So
Hmm.
even for smaller like events, the risk is still there.
Yeah.
It's still a gamble. If we're lucky enough,
So buy your tickets early.
Yeah, we have a very small band fund to kind of, which is essentially kind of what we did last time, what we're doing this year. We're betting the band's earnings for the year against the event being a success, and because it paid off last time.
Yeah, if you see a Nasty
Lightning
Fishmonger
strikes twice, right?
crowdfunder
That's famously.
in the autumn, it's because we've lost all our money.
Nasty Fishmonger World at every pub in the country tour. Well, that would
We
never
have
make
to
it.
go back
Hat
to
in
the
hand
pubs.
tour.
Yeah, no, go busking on every street corner. Hmm. Um, so it was a success this year, though, from
Oh yeah.
from a betting your band earnings point of view.
Yeah, we didn't lose our band earnings. We didn't really make any money, but we didn't lose any money.
I think
It's a
That's
festival.
winning in this game.
in the spirit of transparency, I think we made £125 profit from the event.
That's minimum wage each for your set.
Yeah, basically. But we'd committed to not making profit this year because we wanted to, hopefully build something that's going to be long term. And Rome isn't built in a day, and also that's kind of not necessarily what we're about.
Yeah.
We don't want to necessarily we're doing this because it's a bit of a passion project. We get to play a big hometown show in our home city, but also we don't want to be out of pocket. But we're not doing it purely to raise money. But we did, it was successful in so many other ways in terms of selling out. I think we've got universal feedback across the board from all of the bands. Something that I quite enjoyed. A lot of them said this was like some of the best advancing information we've given out, because as Callum said earlier, we try to do everything that we hate about being booked for festivals and events, the exact opposite. And I think that there are loads of other really successful things, loads of positive feedback. A lot of people saying really positive things about all the acts that played, shifting merch as well, which is always a big one when you're an independent grassroots band. It hit all the positive criteria to inspire us to do something bigger and riskier, maybe.
No, I first heard Muddy Summers there. I've never encountered them before, and I absolutely loved that. So thank you.
Oh, nice. So they gave us like our first festival opportunities. I've been
Oh.
watching them at festivals for like donkey's years, and seeing bands in Gale's Tent. Like, I don't think that's one of the spaces that's definitely kind of inspired us to do our own version of it. Not in a negative way. I feel like actually, as we've said, saying we want to do like things that other events like do badly well. They're not one of the bad events that we're trying to do better than. They're one of the good events we're trying to like copy. But yeah.
So, what are some of your bugbears with bad events? What can an organizer do wrong from a band point of view?
Wind me up. I'll let Callum go first because I could talk about this.
Communication is always the biggest one. I think, as in any kind of relationship of any kind, any time, communication is always the biggest failing point, and it's the easiest one to correct. You can, just making sure that everybody knows what they need to know, or can find access to that information again, like has a document or an email, or that things are just like there.
Be right back emailing all my bands.
Pardon?
Be right back emailing all my bands.
But yeah, just as like, I've had as like, what time do you need to be there? Where can you park? What time do you need to load your gear? And what time is the soundtrack going to be? How long is it going to last? What is going to be on stage? What is not going to be on stage? What are you going to bring? What do you expect to be provided for you? I think like communication is like when events go wrong, it's always a failure of not always, but I feel like the first culprit is something's not been communicated,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I get that.
Always communicate more than you need to. Like, I don't think I've ever seen an advance information on an email and gone, that's too much information, I wish they hadn't sent that. Like, it's oftentimes the ones where like you're on the day of the event, you're trying to like message the organizer who's not sent you any information about the event, trying to figure out like all this sort of stuff, which is just making the whole experience more stressful. Communication generally across the music industry, from my experience, like professionalism can be pretty lacking in a lot of places, such as like timely responses to emails as well. Big bugbear for me is when people do make the effort to contact like us and we share information. We share our tech spec with the promoter or the venue, and then we turn up and the sound guy's not looked at the tech spec. Like, that's a huge one for me. I've just wasted an email there. Like, if you weren't going to read it, don't ask for it, mate. We were lucky at our event. We had a mighty Chris Fishlock of Fishlock Promotions doing our sound, who was really good at that. Kept the whole day running pretty smoothly, as well as Callum doing the acoustic sound. Also on the theme of communication, one of the things I generally dislike is people emailing us asking to book us for gigs and not giving us any information when they book us. Just go, I want you to book you for this event. Okay, great. How much are you paying us? What's the deal? When are we playing? Like, provide more information. As well as basic access, like try and feed us. That's a big one. Like, we provide like the amount of gigs we do and we don't get any sort of like, we're paying for minimal fee and we don't get any sort of like food or drink. It's kind of rampant, and that's part of what it is. It's not an overly flush, particularly at the lower level industry, the music industry. So I understand people are working with limited budgets, but like, we did a gig that were in a venue that will remain nameless, for a promoter that will remain nameless, very reasonably close to Commoners Fair, and I think it worked out that we got paid like £2.50, like per hour for the 4 hours we were there. Like, and I think just levels of professionalism around that could just be a lot easier, or a lot better, and make everything a lot easier for everyone else. And it's just not hard, guys. And be sober. Like, for the sound guy you're running it, have someone that is reasonably sober, like, and who can like assist with these questions if you are expecting loads of bands to arrive. That's a pretty easy one.
Yeah, I've just had the like the worry of being like the person in charge of almost a festival when you're fucked, and it just seems like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Like maybe a like tiny like one mushroom just to focus your energy, but any more than that, and it's just like no, thank you, mate.
It's quite funny now seeing like the advances when we pair slightly bands that maybe are wrong or two up on the on the pyramid, and seeing the amount of bands that have a rider that will very explicitly in bold capital letters say, "Please, can the sound guy just be sober?" Like it's like
bar is on the floor.
Yeah, we're not even asking that you be good. We're just asking that you can do your job. Like you can move the dials. I think generally we haven't. Once or twice we've maybe had sound guys that hit that level, but if bands on that level are saying it, there's clearly like a something going on somewhere.
I mean, to be fair, right? I don't know if I'll be able to keep my sound guy sober, so.
You can't keep them. You can merely ask.
Yeah.
Please, buddy. Like,
no,
wait to the end. Then just get as tanked as you want. Once you've done my sound, I don't mind. You just like, please just do it. And stay at the sound desk as well. Don't go walkabouts if you're running sound.
That's quite worrying.
Yeah, I always say as well, one of the things that like I think a lot of venues, a lot of promoters in general should do better is require like accessibility requirements, and at least asking bands about stuff like that. Obviously, like a lot of venues aren't going to be huge accessible. Some will be up and down stairs, but at least asking bands if they have any accessibility requirements, and not just assuming everyone's going to rock up as fully able-bodied people. And try to do the best you can to accommodate where you can. I will shout out Attitude is Everything, which is a music based charity, which is all about trying to increase access in the music industry for artists and punters who have disabilities at various different levels. And they provide a load of really, really good information about how you can make your events as accessible as they can be. They're not they're sort of preaching you must provide all of this. They're just going, right, maybe your venue you're hosting event doesn't have an accessible toilet. See if there's maybe a venue down the road you can sort of partner up with who does have an accessible toilet, and then signpost towards it. Or just having basic access information on your website. The amount of venues you'll play a gig at and they won't provide you any information about, like, is there step-free access into the venue? Are there steps to get on the stage? Which, luckily for us, we are all able to walk up a couple of steps, but some people may not be able to.
No.
And I think that's just a real little thing that people can do to really sort of, even if it's not encourage more accessibility, it's let people know that we are considering it.
Yeah.
And so, make it a more welcoming place for people that may have some of those issues.
No, you've just got me thinking of, is that part step 3 now? So moving on, do you have a festival other than the fair, obviously, that is your favourite, either for performing at or just attending for fun?
Bit of theory, probably favourite festival. Shambhala was another of my favourites I've ever been to. Was a very, very good festival. What other festivals do you like?
Yeah, I think Bearded Theory is the best sort of, bigger scale, bigger instead of medium-sized festival that I've been to. I think particularly the last couple of years have been really strong lineups, maybe just for my particular taste, but I think that's been really, really good. It's a really nice, inclusive space with Gale's Tea Tent, which we have already mentioned there. I went to 2000 Trees last year. There were a lot of T's in that sentence for the first time, and I really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was a very nice.
Trees is great.
Nice vibe.
Please book us 2000 Trees.
Yeah. Please.
I mean,
anyone you mentioned, please book us. But a particular favourite for mine, I always have a soft spot in my heart for outside of festival, for that lawless little pocket of land in the Somerset Wastes. It's always just a lot of fun. the first weekend of August. I think I've been to all of them bar one, and all of them have been very, very good. And big shout out to Kevin, all the Fuel by Cider guys, for putting on those events.
I mean, all the Fuel by Cider festivals
yes.
are really good as well. You're going to be at Insider this weekend.
Yeah, tomorrow. I'm really excited.
Have you been before?
No, it's my first time in Insider.
It's
Only second
an
time
incredible
in Western.
experience. Make sure you go to the right pontins.
Wait,
Top tip from me over here.
They're two. Christ, this is
well. Yeah, I don't know if the second was because the second one got we were playing there and I was trying to arrive and I got dropped off by a taxi at the wrong pontins, and it was being used to house nuclear workers who were working on building, I think it was the Hinkley Point power station. So I was just there sort of wandering around this sort of like high security like barracks, essentially trying to find out where the cider festival was before realizing, oh no, I've got the wrong one. So just make sure you go to the right one.
Okay. Well, I'm glad I'm driving, so at least I'll be able to go find it if I get to the wrong one. No, I've got like a 5.5 hour drive across the country tomorrow morning. Get there at 12, so I get lunch.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
No, I've got such high ambitions for it. I've never been to like a holiday camp festival before, so widening my horizons.
Make sure you check out the Blue Coat activities. Go play some bingo, do some karaoke.
You've just reminded me. I need to go find my swimming costume.
Puts the mic down, ends the interview there.
To be fair, I'm almost done on this, so I'm about to. Are there any events from experience you would suggest people avoid, either playing or attending?
Ooh.
I love it.
Are there any bridges you want to burn?
If there's any I'd suggest avoiding, it's all experience, you know. It's all there's not really anyone we played where I've like really regretted or thought my life would be worse. Oh, sorry, my life would be better for having like not been in this event. You know, they're all like good stories, and like I'm always down for the.
So you haven't had anyone who has just not paid you, for example?
Of the five, was one of the.
You haven't had anyone who's just not paid you, for example, then?
Yeah. These things have happened. But that's been more on the gig level and the festival level, really. Not interested in throwing any mud, but
yeah. I think when we were a bit smaller, when we were just like a 3-piece acoustic act, we played a couple of like pub venues I wouldn't necessarily go back to. But pubs are a strange one because they change hands so regularly. I wouldn't want to put a tarnish on any of those. And there's definitely been certain acts we may have played that we wouldn't want to play with again. And there are some I don't think we've yet had any wild horror stories. I would just always like, particularly for bands, I think maybe do a bit of due diligence around promoters you work for or work with. And also don't be afraid of like standing up for yourself a little bit, particularly if you're an earlier band. I think that's something I've learned over the last couple of years. Stick your elbows out a little bit. You know.
So when did you guys realise that Nasty Fishmonger had got beyond the initial like getting into festivals project and become like a real serious creative like endeavor?
Good question.
I guess we started getting paid to go to festivals. Like a couple of times that's happened where we've actually had like never a big fee because like we tend not to get like as big fees for festivals as other places, but at least like a fee that's like equivalent to a ticket.
Yeah, a fee that's worth your time.
Yeah, like there's that suddenly felt like because we have no higher ambitions than just getting into the festival and not having to pay ourselves, you know, not being out of pocket for going in. But I guess also playing bigger size venues. We got to play Rock City. So I grew up in Nottingham, and like if there's one venue that you grew up in Nottingham, you dream of playing Rock City. That's the venue. We still haven't played the main room. But we got to for Ferocious Dogs were there, play the second room of Rock City, and it was rammed, and we had an incredible reception. I think that was definitely one of the events that kind of solidified like, oh no, okay, this is like a step above playing like in some random pub somewhere. I guess selling out our album launch as well. We were like releasing an album and then selling out the album launch again, selling out in advance. Again, none of us thought we'd be selling gigs out in advance as a thing, and that'd just be something we could do. So I suppose that was
Yeah, that's the most artistic answer. Mine is a little more admin, but it's purely the fact that basically we did like our first order of merch, I think, just before lockdown. And ever since we did that first merch order, the band basically been financially self-sustaining. We don't necessarily make any money, realistically. I think we've all taken one payment from the band, and that was when we did our like first ever New Year's Eve gig, and we thought, go on, we'll give ourselves 100 quid each off the back of this. But like everything we do as a band at this moment in time is paid for by the work we do as a band, which I think is quite a big thing. So we don't have to we're not financing our own hobby. Our hobby is self-sustaining, even if it's not paying out the riches we get. I think that's quite a big thing, to raise that. All right, it's got some legs, we're
not buys a Christmas meal every year.
Oh, yeah, the staff Christmas meal. Mr. Spotify comes along, pays for our fish and chips.
I mean, it's better than most bands can say, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it as well, because you hear stories about that do think, like, particularly at this level, or do sink their own money into it, and I think I'm quite proud that we run a reasonable enough ship that we don't have to do that. He says that. Come to Commoners Fair too, please. don't make us risk this sort of like 6 years of work. We're not turning up to our event. I will take it very personally if you don't turn up.
Oh, it'd be dreadful. It'd be dreadful if no one came, but I somehow doubt that's going to be the case, right? Like you had a full
tickets
room
already.
Are you playing a heavy festival season next year as well?
Not as heavy as it has been the previous couple of years so far. However, these things always have a way of kind of creeping up as as I think by the time we get around to about April, we'll have probably had a few more.
I think
offers come in.
I think very interestingly, this it feels like it's not quite as busy, but that's actually because if you look at our number of the festivals we've got booked in, it's actually about the same as last year. We just haven't got as many individual gigs booked in around it, which is a very pedant response. But I'm starting to find we tend to get asked for like festivals, particularly ones we play regularly. We're sort of like part of the house band setup, and we get asked quite regularly to come back to those sorts of events. We don't get as many gig offers, I think, as compared to festivals, which I think is a really interesting situation to be in. And I think from a lot of people it's the other way around. But we get quite a few, or a reasonable number of consistent festival offers every year, and we have got some good ones in this year.
I've got a theory on that. I would say it's because you're quite approachable compared to a lot of bands. Like, to people who've never heard you before, it's either, oh, I like them, or, oh, not my thing. Whereas a lot of people are like, oh, and it takes a bit of getting into.
Yeah, I can see what you mean there.
So my final question here: if money was no object, who would be playing at the Commoners Fair?
Well, I mean, so really, a lot more of our friends, actually, to be honest. If money was no object, like, obviously, I've played around the scene for like a few years. We've made like a lot of musical friends. A lot of whom are we're very proud to call friends who like musicians we've been following and like seeing at festivals for years, and it's very, very cool to be like rubbing shoulders. Having a festival is kind of a bit like winning the lottery, and like everyone has been asking us if they can play. And because of the nature of the festival, there's one of the reasons I think it would be quite nice to do a camping festival, because when you're doing a camping festival, like, you've built up your crowd. There are a crowd of people that are going to want to come to your event year on year because of the atmosphere, because they'll see people that they see there every year, and you have a bit more kind of booking freedom that you can go, I'm just going to book bands that I know that people will have a great time and will just kind of fill the role and the vibe like in this moment at this point in the day and be the perfect soundtrack for someone's festival stay, and you don't have to worry about those bands being the draw and the thing to sell the tickets. But because we are doing a city festival, and we're doing a city festival in a city that is really notoriously difficult to try and get people to come out for live music, because there is so much like competition, there's so many other things that people can do, and people have just that much less disposable income to throw at live music. We have to be booking bands that have a proven track record of selling tickets for their own shows in the city. So if money were no object, if we didn't have to worry about making money on the festival, we'd be able to book kind of a lot more of our friends' bands who are like musically fantastic, but people just don't know about them yet, or people in Bristol like don't know about them yet.
I think, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. It's one of the unique things about running our own festivals. Obviously, we booked in some of our friends, but we have to go right. We have to balance that choice of right. How many of our mates can we put on versus how many people like are booking choices to promote the thing. And also, I think it's quite interesting in that Commoners Fair, while it is sort of something we book because we want to, it is also like, this is going to sound like, I don't think it's going to sound bad or not, but like, it is a vehicle for the band as well. Like, it started as us trying to book our own headline show. And like, some of our bookings this year have been around like, okay, let's sort of try and grow our appeal or our audience in Bristol by booking sort of members of this grassroots scene that we're part of, but also booking a couple of bands that maybe are a little more tangential to that group. Like they're not, millions of steps away. They're not, very radical choices, but they're a little bit outside of the scope of our scene because that opens us up to a slightly bigger audience to attend the event, but also, it's a bit more moving towards some of the spaces we'd like to, grow the band into playing. If it was no object, I was just thinking as you said this, if it was no object, one person I'd like to book. I'm going to say we've tried to book him before. Billy Bragg, if you're listening, Bill, eyes on you, buddy.
I'll send it to him.
I think it's also quite hard because I think as your own fact, you try to be relatively realistic. But yeah, Billy Bragg would be, I think, a good one. He probably wants 20K or something, doesn't he, to do a set these days, Bill? But
I think he'll get out of bed for less than that. I reckon he would.
I hope so. So I reckon that's maybe mildly feasible if we did eventually grow it to some degree. Plus, one of my favorite singer-songwriters. So,
I do love me some Billy Bragg. Now, all right. I know I said that was the final one, but often I give people the ability to resurrect the dead for their events. So, is there anyone you would bring back using foul necromancy and sorcery to play at the Commoners Fair?
You know what? Actually, kind of a bit of a niche one. Because actually, I think they're an achievable band that if they were still around, we could have considered booking them. I'd want to bring back Grandmaster Gareth and but Misty's Big Adventure, one of my favorite bands. If you don't know them, I really recommend checking them out. Really fantastic, kind of like psychedelic pop band. Gareth sadly died a few years ago. I saw them. I was quite young, a bit there years ago. I've seen them live a bunch of times. I still listen to all of their stuff regularly. They're really, really underrated band. That's who I bring back.
Oh, that's really cool.
I think two answers. One, because I was trying to think of someone that was actually dead who I might want to book. I can't remember his name now off the top of my head, but the lead singer from Mischief Brew died just before they were due to come over and play Outsider. So I never quite got to see them, and that would be a very, very cool booking. One of my preferred American folk punk bands. But in terms of just resurrecting a dead band, I would have loved to have had the chance to play with Smoky Bastards, who I think are probably one of the UK's most interesting folk punk bands from the early 2010s, who have now all graduated on to fun, different, better things like being members of the Dreadnoughts or being in Redeeming. But I'd love to see them come back at some point one day.
I mean, honestly, you probably got to poke Kev on that one.
Well, this is my thinking of why it's probably unrealistic. I'm like, if it was going to happen, Kev would have got them together to do it at some point. Like for one of the days when the Dreadnoughts are over, or like for the Siderocalypse that's happening at the Fleece in July. So I'm like, it probably must be off the table, but I'd still love to see it. Yeah,
will I be seeing you at the Siderocalypse?
Oh yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Sure. I think that's a very fun, sweaty gig.
Like, I very rarely buy gig tickets in advance at all. If something sells out, I try and wrangle my way on the guest
list. You're the worst person in the world.
I know, right? I am the worst person in the world, but this channel makes less money than your band and probably costs just as much. So for Siderocalypse, soon as I saw the advert, instant buy. Like, there's some stuff I just can't resist.
It's going to be very fun.
Anyway, thank you both for coming on to my show. It's been really, really nice talking to you. Is there
Thanks for
anything
having us.
you'd like to add or sell or chill?
Yeah, I'd like to add buy a ticket to Commoners Fair. Go on to Headfirst Bristol, Google Headfirst, or download the Headfirst app. Commoners Fair tickets are on sale right now. You can currently save a little bit of money. The first release is a little bit cheaper
Well,
than the final release is going to be. Or even if you end up paying full whack for it, it's still a great deal for the amount of music, fun, merriment, and friendship you're going to find at the Commoners Fair. Buy a ticket. Buy a ticket now.
Buy a ticket now.
yeah,
Also,
buy a ticket now. Click off this. You don't need to watch the end. Buy the ticket.
follow our socials as well. We literally just last weekend finished recording a new single where it's being mixed as we speak, and that's going to be dropping at some point soon, maybe in 6 weeks' time. Who knows?
Ooh. Will there be an album following this single?
No.
We're testing the water with the album, with a single potentially.
Okay.
But I think the band coffers spread to underwriting one all dayer and maybe not an all dayer and an album recording at the moment. So probably at some point soon, but this might just be the year of singles for now.
Okay. Well, to make sure the Commoners Fair happens, that's a fair sacrifice.